holiday beginning. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Friday night after the bell. My name is Jonathan Dell. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
I don't have any glasses to dramatically remove there like you did. I feel a little left out here, but hey, that's just a little jibber jabber. We got a wrestling show to recap here. Without further ado, John, don't bury the lead. What's our top story? And we're on the lead tonight, not Cheap Pete yet. The lead from SmackDown, the first SmackDown after a big-time record-setting WrestleMania 40 here on Friday, April 12th.
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead. And we're getting back into the groove of watching SmackDown on Friday nights. I think we've been off for one because we were busy with WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
But the lead is the triple threat match won by AJ Styles against Kevin Owens and Rey Mysterio in the main event, which AJ Styles will advance to next week's match against LA Knight. And the winner of that wrestles Cody Rhodes. So we're getting like triple threat matches to set up matches for next week, which will set up a number one contender shot for the title. Dom, what did you think about this main event between AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, and Rey Mysterio?
I thought it was pretty fast-paced, and it almost has to be because they started it at 9:46 here on the East Coast, and we know that SmackDown goes off the air at 9:58. It's, about a minute and a half before the top of the hour for the local news. So we knew they had to hurry up and do it. But then again, the first triple threat match, which was earlier in the night, only went about 10 minutes. So, it's not like they were shortchanging it relative to the other triple threat match. I like this match. I'm intrigued by the ending of it because putting the two together, you figured there would be at least a heel sort of tease to be Cody Rhodes' first opponent with the belt. It'll be at Backlash, he announced earlier tonight, beginning of May, I believe. So yeah, AJ Styles advancing to the number one contenders match makes sense. I like AJ Styles. I like also the fact that, with about a minute and a half to go, LA Knight walks down to the ring and the two of them trash talk in the ring. And I really like the banter there because I was, thinking of it myself. LA Knight says WrestleMania was part one because they're going to do it again. What did you? I don't want to bury the match itself, but talking about the match and the matchup we're going to get next week between AJ and LA Knight again, what do you think that says about their WrestleMania match, if anything? And do you like having them rehash it essentially not even 2 full weeks later?
I guess they built it enough where I'm cool with a second match.
Okay.
And
it did not seem like a one and done feud, did it? It seemed like it had some legs.
Yeah, it did have some legs. I like the WrestleMania match a lot, and I have no problem watching them wrestle again.
Okay.
As far as the match is concerned, this was a really good match, I felt like, for the limited time that we got. The crowd was way into it. Way into it. And they got a "This is awesome" chant. I don't think I've heard a "This is awesome" chant in the main event in a while, because sometimes they're okay, but or on a SmackDown in the main event, but they were into it. It had an energy tonight that was not prevalent in a lot of other SmackDowns.
Fast paced, right? These guys were not dogging it, and maybe it was the time crunch. There's a limit on your programming, so yeah, they moved fast. A lot of action in this, but not too many near falls, I didn't think. Some good combos with all three guys, like Kevin Owens German suplexing AJ Styles, who was trying to German suplex Rey, so it becomes this big old schmaz there. AJ leapfrogging a pop-up powerbomb attempt by Kevin Owens and hitting the Pele kick. And then as AJ goes to follow up, Ray springs off the ropes and cross bodies him. So there was some good action involving all three wrestlers, which really is on one hand, it's the most difficult thing to do in a triple threat match, because the tendency for bad triple threat matches is to be one guy gets knocked out and two guys square off.
And the one guy lays
knocked out. Yeah, right. And then the other guy jumps back in as another guy's getting knocked out. So it's really a one-on-one match where it's a weird tag match where somebody keeps tagging in. There's always just two guys going at it and another guy waiting. But this did not seem like too much of that. The finish was pretty neat here. Ray hits a 619, but Kevin Owens stunners Ray on the apron. Then Kevin Owens goes for the swanton. AJ gets the knees up. Then Ray gets back into it, tries to Hurricane Rana AJ Styles from the top rope, but AJ won't budge. Instead, turns it into a Styles clash from the second turnbuckle. And that's the pin. Great finish there. And maybe it was because it's Ray that he can actually execute that move. It's like somebody tries to Hurricane Rana you, and you first of all not budge. It has to be a guy as small as Ray, and then to safely hit that to set up the Styles clash while you're on a turnbuckle. So good choice by the guys who were in the match and the way they executed the finish. I like the match. I like how they involved all three guys in some sequences. And I like the result. AJ Styles is a good guy to win anything and have a title match. I mean, he's AJ Styles, for crying out loud.
It's funny you mentioned that Rey Mysterio has to do that spot at a spry 49 years old.
Right.
He's got to be the guy that does the really athletic spot.
Yep. Takes the really athletic spots. Like, okay, yeah, go ahead and nail me.
Yeah, he can take the crazy bump, and anybody else.
He took the brainbuster bump earlier.
Yeah, right.
Kevin Owens up on the top turnbuckle, and he brainbusters him off the top.
But I mean, sorry, not to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's beautiful. The hardest working retired man in wrestling. We've said this for a year now, since he went into the Hall of Fame, and we thought he was just kind of right off into the sunset, and he didn't.
No, not at all.
Anything that I missed that you wanted to highlight from the match itself?
No, you hit all the spots that I really liked a lot. And I mean, from my perspective, great main event. And crowd was hot. It had some meeting. I'm looking forward to next week too. I'm like, okay, cool. If I wasn't doing Don't Bury the Lead, I would tune in anyway, so.
All right. Hey, let's go right to, this is kind of the co-lead then, since we're talking about the number one contender match that's been set up. How about the triple threat for the number one contenders match? The triple threat that we had earlier in the show was the first match technically of the night. It didn't, it was about 20 minutes into it because they started off with other stuff, but LA Knight versus Bobby Lashley versus Santos Escobar. This also went about 10 minutes, and it ends with Santos Escobar sidestepping a Bobby Lashley spear attempt, but then he kind of walks into a blunt force trauma by LA Knight for the pinfall. So that set up our rematch of the WrestleMania match that you and I were combined probably both most looking forward to. For sure. So what about this first triple threat match that stood out to you? LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, and Santos Escobar.
So I like the corner spot they did, specifically, where they kind of they're about to do the superplex. Yep. And then the guy comes from behind and does the power bomb. I don't know which order it was. I think it might have been Lashley was about to do the superplex, or
LA Knight did the leap up to the top turnbuckle to grab Santos Escobar as Bobby Lashley was recovering from being beat down. And as LA Knight was trying to set up the superplex, there goes Bobby, and Bobby power bombs LA Knight, who superplexes Santos Escobar. And then Bobby goes to cover Santos Escobar and gets a 2 count out of it. Yeah, another example of a good spot that involved all three wrestlers. What about the schmaz in this one? Because it's really like a no disqualification match because it's a triple threat. So the rest of LDF comes down, Angela and Helen Umberto, and also Elektra Lopez. And they're interfering by attacking LA Knight as he looks like he's getting ready for a blunt force trauma on Santos Escobar. Then they attack Bobby Lashley, who had recovered after a beatdown. Then the Street Profits hit the ring. It's mayhem everywhere. B-Fab winds up taking out Elektra. Just all over the place. Good use of a schmaz in the middle of a match.
I'll tell you what, Dom. Yeah, it was really all over the place. I felt like they probably had enough to not have the schmaz, but I guess it's technically legal with the no DQ.
Sure.
But yeah, so I guess it's still setting up. Yeah, that was a lot going on there. I actually don't have a lot of notes on it because I think I just like blanked it out.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there, and the guy who doesn't have a faction winds up winning.
Right. Maybe that's like the swerve.
Because
like,
the factions took each other out. Eventually, Angel and Humberto took out Angelo Dawkins, but then Montez Ford hit that somersault dive. So, like, all of the schmazzers were incapacitated near the bottom of the entrance ramp, and that's when the finish happened really quickly. So the schmazzers wound up, like, taking out the other schmazzers.
Right.
And neither one of their guys they were trying to help won the match. So, swerve!
It was a swerve, 100%. No.
It was a fun one, right? It was for a SmackDown that started off a little slowly with lots of talking and backstage camera work. There was a lot of action in this match. And I got to tell you, though, after this match, it almost seemed like it was going to be a lousy SmackDown. Because until we got really well into that second hour, it looked like we were, it really up until the main event, it looked like we were getting some work that looked like it was like it really just didn't belong on TV. We got 2 squashes that lasted a minute.
Yeah, I know. There was a lot going on with the squashes here.
So where do you want to go after the, if you have something else to say about how they set up the number 1 contenders match for next week, then I don't want to shortchange it there. But if we've put a bow on really the lead there, where do you want to go next?
Yeah, so that's a lead, and we can head right directly into the follow. It's a good point, kind of bringing up both the triple threat matches. I'd say, to wrap it up there, right people won. I mean, I want to see LA Knight. I want to see AJ Styles, and it makes me look forward to next week. And triple threats are fun. I mean, I think they were both. One was good. The other one got the right result.
Pretty good. And the crowd popped huge because LA Knight won.
Yeah, he's
like best way to take care of a messy match is to have the guy who's the most over get a really, boom victory.
Still the most over babyface in the company.
Yeah,
even with Cody Rhodes winning the title.
Yeah, it was fun. So tell us in the comments, or if you're in the live chat here on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, or if you're in the comments watching the archived live stream on YouTube. By the way, subscribe there at YouTube. That's where all our good stuff is. Tell us in the comments, do you like having a rematch of a WrestleMania match so quickly? Do you like the stakes that are involved now? Do you like how these triple threats played out? It's going to be LA Knight. It's going to be AJ Styles. Too soon for their rematch of WrestleMania? Or do you like the groove that these two guys got, and now they're putting some stakes added to it as well?
Yeah.
And where would you like to go with it, John?
Well, I mean, this is, if it wasn't for the main event, this might have been the match of the night.
Okay.
Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton. What'd you think of this one?
This went 9 minutes. They started almost while we were looking at backstage stuff. This match started with Bayley cutting an in-ring promo. It winds up with Naomi getting a pinfall after about 9 minutes. This is funny. Bayley is putting together. Bayley walks out there and gets huge "You deserve it" chants before she even starts talking. It's been a while since Bayley's been a babyface, and people, I think, appreciate maybe not totally just having her turn babyface, but the fact that she's been so good even as a heel. I think this felt like an appreciative crowd when they saw Bayley come out. And you and I are probably in that mix as well. Like, even when Bayley was a heel and a heel running a faction, we always appreciated her work on the mic, character development, helping out the other wrestlers, getting an orbit going around her. And whenever she got a chance in the ring, she was awesome. So this starts with Bayley trying to set up a challenger for her newly won title. And it winds up being Tiffany Stratton coming out and saying, "Oh, you're going to make an open challenge? I accept." And Bayley's like, "No, actually, I was going to make the offer to someone who really deserves it, Naomi." And then it becomes a Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton match. What did you think of the 9 minutes that we got to see Naomi and Tiffany Stratton perform there?
I thought it was really I thought it was pretty good. I love the finish of Naomi knocking off Tiffany Stratton because I did not see that coming at all. Because Tiffany Stratton has been going over everyone. They've been booking her like Hulk Hogan. So she's going over everyone. And Naomi's come in and she did really well in the Royal Rumble, but she's already lost to Tiffany Stratton. So I was like, oh, we're rematching and then she's going to just lose again. But I like the finish where basically Naomi moves out of the way of the
moonsault,
the prettiest moonsault ever.
Yep.
So Naomi moves out of the way, and when she moves out of the way, Tiffany just does the full flip and then goes to be brags about it, and then just gets rolled up by Naomi because she's too busy like bragging about it. So I thought that was like a good, unique transition.
Yeah, and the way Naomi does it, it's not the traditional roll up. It's kind of a fold up. She grabs her legs and then flips herself over onto her opponent's back while holding the legs, so your opponent is folded over onto herself. And that kind of really is a good pinfall. I like that. Tiff had gone into an Alabama slam before that. It's funny you mentioned that these two have wrestled before and Tiffany went over and you thought she would again. I had a feeling that they would maybe even this up because you don't want to push Tiffany too soon and you do want to give Naomi a win at some point. I wrote that this was a very even matchup early.
Yeah.
Which I like to see, because this was bracketed by 2 squashes. So this was a good, this was an even match early. I like that they traded close 2 counts and, there was some defensive wrestling in here. Tiffany Stratton is way ahead of the game for newcomers. Like just to compare to somebody else we saw later, Jade Cargill. Yeah. Tiffany Stratton is way ahead in the ring and on the mic of Jade Cargill. She's way ahead of a similar point where Solo Sikoa was when they introduced him to the main roster almost 2 years ago. Like Tiffany Stratton, she's got a bullet attached to her. She can do everything if they continue to push her. She seems like the kind of wrestler who can handle it. She seems like she has some upside still to go. She wrestled well, even though she lost this match.
She's only wrestled under 10 matches on the main roster, and it just feels like she's been there. Like it feels like she's already a pro. Like she's already well-rounded and ready to go. And
is this a tribute to NXT and to, like, there are some people who spend a couple of years in NXT and they really learn the ropes of being a pro wrestler. And is Tiffany Stratton kind of like your poster child for how to do NXT properly and groom somebody to be a great main roster?
I don't watch NXT a lot, but it's a great representation of what they're doing down there. And if they can bring her up and she's this good and you're just like,
she seems like she belongs right away, right?
Immediately, and there's no
not with a comedy gimmick. Like they sometimes bring people up and they're goofy because they're trying to get over, like, be noticed. Like she didn't come up and be goofy. She came up and like had an attitude. But like you said, she seems like she's been there forever because she doesn't seem like she's too green. She seems comfortable in her character. She seems comfortable on the mic. She seems comfortable interacting with someone like Bayley, who's been on the main roster forever and who's a Grand Slam champion and a current title holder.
Yeah,
like, Tiffany doesn't look like she's out of place there, right?
No, not at all. And even with Tiffany, she shoots the promo tonight, and it was like, oh, she has that too on her. Like I didn't even know she could also do that in addition to the ring work, the look, the attitude. So, yeah, great stuff from Tiffany Stratton.
When she finally turns babyface, Tiffy Time's going to be a huge pop.
Yeah.
She's going to be up top giving the wrist thing, Tiffy time, and like the crowd's going to explode for it.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up with Tiffany and how strong she's been, and adversely is like Jade tonight was like, all right, but we'll get to that in a minute. But
anything else from this one? Nice to see Bayley get the cheers and the "you deserve it." I think she does deserve it. It's going to be babyface versus babyface, but I mean, would you like to see a Naomi versus Bayley match?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've been really happy with the way I think she's improved with her time away from WWE and then coming back into the system.
I never saw her beforehand, so you have that reference point with her. You think how is she better now? Mic work, smoothness, stiffer with her in-ring work. Okay, good. That's important. Too much stuff looks like they're babying each other, so that's important.
Especially with the gymnast, with Tiffany Stratton in there. Yep. There can be a tendency with the gymnast when people are doing gymnastics where it starts to just look like gymnastics, right?
Yep.
But she just booted her tonight. Like there was a nasty kick by Naomi, and it was just a potato. And I was like, and I think it was Graves went, ooh, like you could just hear he like whiffed, and I was like, yeah, it makes it feel a little bit more like a fight if you throw a potato in there. So
there you go.
I like that. I don't know. I like the stiff stuff. So.
Yeah, it's good. And it's great when the wrestlers can take that from each other and carry on with the match. It's physical. It's a sport,
right?
Not only do you really have to hit the mat with all these moves and really have to do the athleticism, but yeah, sometimes you really do take a stiff kick to the face.
Yes.
Would you have been more interested in the babyface heel dynamic of Tiffany Stratton, Bayley, and since they're not doing it right away, do you see that as something they could do down the road?
I think I don't want to give her a title shot right away, and she's doing so well. Don't push her too fast, and then suddenly she doesn't get over. I don't know. I like letting them develop where they're at, so slow.
Sure, if you put Tiffany Stratton in there with Bayley right away, she has to lose because Bayley can't drop the belt that quickly. And now you wind up, did we bury Tiff?
Mm-hmm.
So, but down the road, if Tiffany Stratton can assuming Bayley remains babyface and Tiffany Stratton can keep some of this, heel attitude going, would you like to see that down the road?
SummerSlam, if she keeps it up at this pace, I don't know. She's just been really good. So I wouldn't be too upset if she stays at this trajectory, but let's see. Maybe we're
these might be two more people to climb the ladder into that upper level of the women's division where it's believable, it's plausible that they're challenging for a title. Not that they have to win it, but it's plausible that Naomi's in a title match.
We make this observation every week, but just yet another good to great women's worker on the SmackDown roster.
Yep.
It's just like, man, they are loaded on the women's side. But
so maybe let's get to some women who have performed well in the past, but this match just went like a minute.
Yeah. So
Chelsea Green and Piper Niven get beat by the new tag team of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Jade does that face plant of Chelsea after what looked like it was maybe a half botch.
Yes.
Of something that was supposed to happen, but Jade hits this big, powerful finisher, gets the pinfall. The match was a squash. Not much to say about it. What do you make of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair perhaps being a longer running tag team after being two of the three who were in the 6-woman tag at WrestleMania? And would this maybe breathe some life into the women's tag team division?
I mean, I don't know anything about the women's tag team division and what's happened. It seems like it's just sort of gotten abandoned. The Ibuki Warriors were the champs, and that was just kind of it, right?
Still are, yeah. Asuka and Kairi Sane, yeah. Who are kind of thrown together as two singles wrestlers. Hey, let's have them get the belt. So if you're having trouble getting your tag teams over and you've got a loaded women's roster, is this the right move to just pair a couple of wrestlers together and say, you're a tag team now, go bolster the tag team division? We've did it once with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Are they trying to strike gold again with Jade and Bianca? And would you like to see that down the road.
Maybe it's one of these things too where Bianca and Jade are the opposites, right? As far as the in-ring work, seemingly.
As of now, yes.
Bianca's been probably one of the better workers in the company, men's, women's. Like, she's been great. And then Jade has been doing like 2 to 3 moves a night. And it's like the big slam, whatever the other big slam is. She licks when she pins the person, and that's the big thing she does. So maybe they just kind of have Jade hidden away in the corner, and Bianca does all the hard stuff, and then they'll tag Jade in, and she'll do that stuff. But I don't know. It's kind of looking at my watch with Jade Cargill here. I know I'm trying to give her an opportunity and a shot, and she's got the entrance and the look, but are we going to see more than the 2 moves of doom?
Okay, that's a great point. Is this maybe a better way to ease her into the main roster by putting her in a tag team rather than Jade? You have to go out and carry a 10 to 15 minute match.
Exactly. So she can get used to the tag stuff, and then maybe that'll build her into the singles where she's more comfortable.
Yeah, because you and I are both, like, they've made such hype over Jade Cargill. She looks like $1 million. She's athletic, obviously. So maybe this is how she builds into being that singles wrestler. Io Sky had to do it in Damage Control, right?
Yeah.
And eventually she turned into it.
Or it's a way for Bianca and Jay to feud, and that would be a good way to have, that would be a good thing for Bianca to have a pet project, because Bianca's so good that she could bring Jade along in like a rivalry.
Maybe that's next WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Jade versus Bianca 1-on-1.
We just booked it.
We just booked it, right? So, speaking of Jade maybe being in a tag team to help her move along, the other match we got tonight was Cameron Grimes versus Bron Breakker. This lasted about a minute. Bron Breakker wins with the spear. Cameron Grimes looks like he's very happy-go-lucky in the ring, lots of energy, and he's in there for a minute.
Did he not have any? Did he not even have any theme song? Was he just out there?
He was just out there in the ring, and they announced him.
Already, you're out there, and you're like, oh man, he's getting the role of no-name jobber, but he's on the roster.
Yes, Or if they gave him the if they gave him some sort of song or anything, it was like as we were looking backstage to something or coming out of commercial. So maybe the in-arena crowd got it, but I mean, like, they're like, nah, we don't need to put his entrance on TV.
Right.
Just have him in the ring and make him smile. He'll be done in 2 minutes. So Bron Breakker, they're making him look like a world beater. Is this a case if they don't quite have something to do with him yet, so they might as well just make him into this monster early on? We've got to see more than this from Bron Breakker, right? Yeah,
and I think the one thing he has going for him is people are familiar enough to bark at him, so the crowd's barking.
Yes.
So he's over with the crowd.
He's the dog-faced gremlin's son.
He's just doing what his dad did, and it's like, that's great. Just do what your dad did. Perfect. And
he runs the ropes fast.
Mm-hmm.
I know you don't like Irish whips. I'm not the biggest fan of them either, but he goes into those ropes like he means it.
Yeah, I mean, he's it's interesting because he is a little bit of a blend of both Scott too.
His uncle Scott Steiner.
Yeah, I see some Scott Steiner with how big and nasty he is sometimes with, like the way he speared Cameron Grimes tonight was like, yeah, that looks more like Scott than Rick,
playing to the crowd and the charisma too. Like Rick Steiner his character was always that he was kind of a meathead.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get a lot of promo time. He wasn't really the guy who was, jawing with the crowd or showing off too much. He was more the hard-nosed, real amateur champion wrestler who is now beating people up in the squared circle. So yeah, so Bron Breakker is kind of a good combination. Also physically as well, he's got kind of that mid look between his dad, who was really built and put together and stocky like an athlete, and then his uncle Scott, who over the years went more into that bodybuilder V shape.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of athletes who are V shape. That's the bodybuilder mode. So yeah, Bron Breakker has the body between the pure athlete and the bodybuilder.
Big
And
Papa, Big Papa Pump was a freak.
Yeah,
he was. I mean, obviously, gas, steroids, whatever things he had it all in him, but he was gigantic.
yes,
Mhm.
and he had that V shape to him, like the thin waist, and then like there it goes.
Yeah.
So Bron Breakker's there. I haven't seen anything of him that impresses me other than the fact that tonight he ran the rings really fast. And that's one of the problems with these squashes is, like I don't believe at all that when this guy gets into a real wrestling match, he should be squashing anybody. So like these early matches should be a way for him to at least show us something.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not showing me anything other than he can squash a guy with a spear.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's probably enough squashes. You got to see either he has a match or, just keep him in NXT and then bring up when you need to. I feel like
I'd like to see them do with him what they're doing with Tiffany Stratton.
Yeah.
Letting her get on the mic, letting her have a match, letting her sometimes not do all that well in a match. Like it took her a while to get her timing down with the moonsault against the wrestlers on the main roster. It took a little while for her to, maybe get into doing a promo, but I'd like to see Bron Breakker have the trajectory that Tiffany Stratton is having, in the sense that, we've known Bron and Tiffany for about the same amount of time. Tiffany looks much more polished and they've allowed her to do more on the main roster. I want to see if Bron Breakker has that in him.
What's weird about tonight was they did the double squash. You could have just done without the one squash and just had a regular match with the other one. Even if Bianca had to be in there for longer.
Yeah.
And Piper Nevin,
yep, and Chelsea Green.
They're good enough to hold another extra 3 minutes, right?
Sure, they've been the tag champs for a while.
Yeah, like we could have gotten a couple more minutes and had Bianca in there, and then done the proper hot tag. Have Jade go, boom, boom, go home. I don't know. I don't think if we really want to critique some of the things about like squashes, it doesn't really do anything for the person that's squashing at this point.
Right.
It starts to be like, okay, well, when are we going to see anything from them?
Yep. Especially if you're a new person. Like if you're a new person, we need to get to know you.
Yeah. We don't get to know you because we hear your theme song and then see you do a spear and leave.
Yeah, right. And like flex to the crowd,
AEW did this with Jade, and they also did it with Wardlow, and they just never did anything after that. Like they would just keep winning in squashes, and then it was like, all right, now what? Okay. And they kind of did the Goldberg thing with Jade, and just like the Goldberg thing in WCW, it's just like, okay, what's going on here? It doesn't.
Your gimmick is you don't lose, then you really don't have a gimmick.
Then that's not a gimmick. But
so there were 3 non-wrestling segments that I thought merited at least some mention here. Do you have one that you want to go to particularly?
Oh, for sure. We kind of buried this talking about the other wrestling matches, but I made this as our thumbnail, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
We had some action with the Bloodline.
We did.
Solo Sikoa turned on Jimmy Uso and somebody from New Japan, Toma Tonga.
They said he was the son of Haku.
Yeah, I recognize this guy from New Japan, actually.
You did? Oh, I did not. So good. Go with it. Tell us about, tell everybody in the chat and in the watching us on the recording and me what you know about Toma Tonga.
He was in the Bullet Club, which was their big, giant, like, Bullet Club was a little bit like NWO Black and White, but AJ Styles was in the Bullet Club. The Young Bucks, who we'll talk about later, were in the Bullet Club, and Kenny Omega. So a lot of these people were in the Bullet Club. He kind of had the Bloodline gimmick before the Bloodline was around. When Roman Reigns was part of the Shield and he was a babyface, and the Usos were just like Hawaiian guys.
Okay.
This guy was doing what would be the Bloodline gimmick now, where saying "oos" and stuff like that, and he had like, you notice how Roman has like the beard with the gray in it now. He had that look. He actually has like
we're all getting a little older, John. Don't remind us.
I'm telling you, Roman took a lot of stuff from him to create his current character. So
really?
yeah. So I'll have to show you some stuff later.
All right.
Where he basically, there was a lot of there's a lot of stuff he borrowed from him, let's just say. But
okay, it looks like I'm getting some links to go check out some other videos here.
Yeah, you could see like the similarities in Roman right now and the way Toma Tonga is. And Toma Tonga's older now. I think he's kind of like, he didn't re-sign with New Japan, or New Japan, they must have done some salary cuts, because a lot of guys have gone to AEW or WWE.
Okay.
So anyways, that's Toma Tonga.
Hey, if you're watching and you've got a Toma Tonga video that you like, link it for us in the comments on the YouTube page.
There you go. Yeah. If you have anything you want to show us, let us know. And
yeah, I really like this segment as well. For a second you thought maybe they turn on Paul Heyman, because Roman Reigns made it very clear he's not the Bloodline's wise man. He's my wise man. So there's this, maybe they're now, Roman's not there tonight. Maybe the other guys are going to turn on Heyman, and it winds up being Solo turns on Jimmy. And this is, he hugs him. He says, "You're my brother. I love you." And that's when Toma Tonga ambushes him from behind. And then, Paul Heyman tries calling Roman Reigns after being bullied into holding up the ones sign by Solo Sikoa. And Solo Sikoa takes the phone away and smashes it. So it's like Solo Sikoa and Toma Tonga maybe taking over the Bloodline here. So we're getting, when they kept saying months ago that, the Bloodline storyline is only in the third inning, there's so much more to do. Maybe they're delivering on it. There's a lot more to do, and it doesn't necessarily require Roman Reigns to have the Universal belt.
Yeah, for sure. They mentioned it already, and now there's going to be another wrinkle. Man, I hope Jimmy got a big payday for just taking all kinds of losses for the last 6 months. He just feels like he's losing, right?
Hey, it's like Scott Hall said, when I win, it's scripted. When I lose, it's scripted. What do you want me to do?
Right.
Like he would say that to the bookers, because like bookers would have to deal with guys who had bruised egos about not going over. And one of them came to Scott Hall when he was early in his career, and he basically said something to that effect. And they're like, oh, we can use you then. This is great. We can use you in all sorts of great ways as a character, because you're there to perform for people. You're not there to do your one-loss record as if it's, a real one-loss record.
Right, like he's keeping score.
I think Jimmy's been really good. This may set up a reunion of the Uso brothers.
Mm-hmm.
We may see Solo and Toma Tonga versus Jimmy and Jay, if there's a reconciling, reformations, so to speak, of maybe the Usos there. So lots of ways they can go with this. This was a fun, and it was supposed to be like a really brutal thing. Like they wind up not only Solo spiking Jimmy a few times, but then they set him up in the corner, put the steel folding chair around his neck, and Solo does that backside cannonball into him in the corner. So like they're making this like, Jimmy's got some time off coming to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be some vacation bumps he's taking. And the interesting thing with the Bloodline is I saw like some theories where they could like split the Bloodline up now, and now you could be like, it's Roman and Jimmy versus Solo, and now Toma Tonga. I can't remember that name. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's brand new.
It's the feud within the Bloodline that they teased for a little bit with Jay and Jimmy versus Roman and Solo. We got a great tag team match at a premium live event out of that, and a couple of months of really good wrestling in the ring and pretty good promo and build as well. So yeah, I don't mind seeing that out of the Bloodline. I'm glad that they put so much into the Bloodline. I'm glad that it doesn't just wither away and die just because Roman has to drop the belt.
Yeah, and it puts a spark into it and maybe gets Roman a little bit off. I mean, he probably needs a break, and he's been their champ for like, was it over 1,000 days?
1,316 days.
There you go. So 1,316 days. He probably needs a little bit of time off just to, when he comes back, it'll be special, right? Versus we've seen him a lot recently.
We've seen him a little more just because of all the promos on the build to WrestleMania, but this is usually the Roman Reigns thing. Like, he wrestles, he's off TV for a couple of weeks, comes back, cuts a promo, maybe at the next premium live event he'll have a match. So this is par for the course for Roman. It will be interesting to see if all of his character development that he's worked on with Paul Heyman and with this Bloodline angle remains strong without the belt.
Yeah.
Like, is his character tied to being the champion, or is his character well developed enough where he's going to be entertaining even if he's not the champion?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think Roman should be able to answer that question like, yes, I have a well developed enough character to do this, but he's got to prove it. So I'm waiting for Roman to be back on TV and see how this plays out. And will he be back before the brand draft that they announced for 2 weeks from tonight?
Oh, definitely.
Starting on the April 26th. And then the draft results will usually they take effect right after Backlash.
Mm-hmm.
So will he be back in character before the draft or after? How's that going to play out? But a lot of stuff to do with the Bloodline.
Yeah. So any other segments you want to talk about? We just talked about the Bloodline.
Yeah, I think we'll go to Cody Rhodes last, but because I want to briefly mention the backstage interview with the Legado del Fantasma, where they denied attacking Dragon Lee.
Okay.
Because they're doing like little subtle hints, but it seems so obvious to me that it's Carlito attacking the other members of the LWO.
Oh.
Because every time Ray passes him over for somebody else, like they briefly cut away and Carlito goes from having this really excited look on his face to this wait, what? Look on his face. Like when Dragon Lee was announced, like the crowd was chanting Carlito, Carlito, and Carlito's like just grinning ear to ear, and then Ray goes Dragon Lee, and Carlito goes
right.
So it looks, and then when they find that Dragon Lee's been beaten up backstage, and Carlito's all ready to go. Ray's like, and then Andrade walks in, I'll take his place. And Ray's like, oh, good, you take his place. And like Carlito's there again, like, that's my line.
Right.
So it's becoming obvious to me, and I that doesn't mean that like I'm poo-pooing it all. Like, I want to see it play out. It's been entertaining, but it looks to me like Carlito is jealous of being passed over, and he's the one taking out everybody in the LWO who's like getting Ray's affection ahead of him.
Yeah.
So this is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun.
No, that's a great call out, and I didn't realize that. It's a great point. And I did notice that that's been the gimmick where like everyone is excited for Carlito to get chosen, and then he's not the one.
Yes.
Because it was Dragon Lee, and it is kind of hilarious. So with Dragon Lee, it's like, why Dragon Lee? When Carlito's been around the whole time. But yeah,
because he's the future of luchador.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then one more in-ring promo. It was the opening of the show with Cody Rhodes. It was basically a talking segment because now that Cody's got the belt, he's got to go on within the first week. He's got to go on Good Morning America. Then he's got to do Raw and talk. And he did. And apparently The Rock was in a big segment talking with him on Raw. And then he's got to go do SmackDown, and he's got to talk on SmackDown. He's not going to have a match right away, obviously, but he's got to be there. He's got to show up and have the presence. Cody sounded all right, but this was clearly just, a standard, okay, I'm the champ now promo. There was one little wrinkle that I will get to, but I don't want to trump anything you wanted to say about this. Anything
go for it.
Really interesting about this Cody Rhodes promo?
No, you go for it.
He mentioned the triple threats and some of the people involved in the triple threat, and then he did as an aside about AJ Styles. AJ Styles and I are two of the 4 men who've held both the NWA World's title and the WWE World's title.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And once he did that, I went, oh, who are the other 2? And I started thinking, and one is like dead obvious.
Flair?
Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And then there's one more, and I was going, who would have done that? And I had to go way back, and I actually found the list of them. They're on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not great for much these days, but for something non-political, like just a list of pro wrestling champions, I think it's Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, who in the 1960s was the inaugural WWF champion after Vince McMahon Sr. and Toots Mondt promoters broke away from the NWA, and Buddy Rogers became the inaugural WWF champion back when it was Worldwide Wrestling Federation. But I believe that belt is still considered part of the WWE lineage. And then, of course, he had been NWA World Champion a couple of years earlier in the 1960s, defeating Pat O'Connor. And then there was like controversy. Did he have extra title reigns, or were they recognized or not? But yeah, I think it's Buddy Rogers. Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. So it's Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, and 2 guys that in different generations were both the Nature Boy. So that's what I got for you. That little bit of trivia. Folks, tell me if I'm not quite right, because technically maybe Bruno Sammartino held the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, although he refused to accept it after beating Buddy Rogers, who they claimed was injured at the time. So tell me in the comments, in the chat, if you're watching us live, who do you think those other 2 of the 4 are who held both the NWA World Heavyweights title and the WWE World Heavyweights title that goes back to WWF and WWF?
Well, I'll tell you what. I know Flair's one, but I did not know
the
second one. Did you just like, I guess, did the research, like, who the hell's the 4th?
It's got to be someone early.
Yeah.
It's got to be someone early. And then I'm thinking, like, well, who do I know that held the belt early in the WWF lineage who may have gotten the NWA one? And I thought Bruno, and then I was like, oh, Buddy Rogers was basically the guy that they started the Worldwide Wrestling Federation with.
Yeah.
And he had previously been NWA champ.
It's crazy when you go that deep back into it and see the lineage of all that stuff. And I think even Vince's dad was already a promoter in the fight game and like boxing.
I did not know that, but he was definitely part of the NWA, and they broke away to form their own.
Excuse me. Vince Sr. was his dad. Vince Sr.'s dad was
Vince McMahon Jr., the guy that just got ousted from TKO. His grandfather was in boxing.
Yeah.
He was in boxing. Okay.
Yeah. So he was in boxing. He was a promoter for MSG, I think.
Okay.
So I think they've been in this
plausible and would make sense, because MSG, Madison Square Garden, was kind of the home base, and where they put all their big shows for years, even when Vince McMahon Sr. took over pro wrestling. And then even Vince McMahon Jr., I mean, Madison Square Garden was a big deal. The first WrestleMania was there. Lots of big title changes happened there, big house shows.
And don't quote me on this because I'm kind of spitballing. But Dom, anything else you want to talk about with this show?
I think we've done everything we can for a post WrestleMania edition of SmackDown. I think it's drive time. It's Time for the thumb drive, where you and I are going to distill everything here into a simple thumbs up or thumbs down. There are no ties. There's also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You are taking this course pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't do star ratings. We don't do 2 stars at WrestleMania. We don't say 7 stars at the Tokyo Dome. No, we don't do stars, okay? We do a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So let's do it. Ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Hey, 2 thumbs up. Why'd you give this show a thumbs up, Dom?
The triple threats saved it because they were very well put together triple threats. And I am intrigued by LA Knight and AJ Styles having a rematch of their WrestleMania match, which was great. It was we were both looking forward to seeing it at WrestleMania. It delivered. Great in-ring wrestling, offensive and defensive. And I like this. I also like it because it looks like their feud could be the kind of thing where they trade wins with each other. Like, I don't think losing to AJ Styles, suddenly derails LA Knight as a upper echelon performer. So I think they could maybe have AJ win this one, go wrestle Cody at Backlash, and still have maybe the rubber match of LA Knight, AJ Styles a little later. I think it's, when you find a guy to wrestle with who you both look good no matter who wins and loses, and you can each trade wins and losses without the other guy like feeling as if his spot has been taken on the roster. I think that's a great matchup to continue. So I like it. The main events, which kind of bookended this show, did it for me.
Yeah.
So the rest of it was 2 squashes and, one match that Naomi and Tiffany tried to save.
I'll go a different direction than you.
Okay.
I agree with everything you're saying as far as like the strong matches. There was a different feel with the production of this show that I haven't noticed in other SmackDowns.
Okay.
And like specifically Kevin Owens going through the gorilla. They had like a camera come down from like that goes through the crowd, and all these people are standing there, and like there's just some things in the production that make it feel a little bit more lively and a lot different that I've been like that this show I noticed and I hadn't noticed in the past. You don't want to follow them. You don't want to fall into a point where they start to just follow a template, because that's really when it gets stale. And I felt like SmackDown was getting a bit stale as we're heading into WrestleMania, but something's changed. There's been some sort of change in production, and
it's the Paul Levesque era. They keep talking about it since WrestleMania. This is it. Like, not only did Vince leave and Vince's influence, but Vince's producer left. What was it, Kevin Dunn? Earlier this year. So yeah, this is a new crew, and WrestleMania, and then the week after WrestleMania is the time to unveil that. Yeah. So WWE, and we know they watch Don't Bury the Lead. They get some great ideas from us. They're watching now. They will be very glad to hear that you noticed that it looks like a new era for their televised product.
Right. So Dom, that's a thumb drive. We give it 2 thumbs up. And let's see here. Do you want to move on? And
is it getting warm in here?
It's getting warm. I don't have my jacket on because it's warm in my house. I got the windows opening
It's
up.
a little warm here.
Yeah.
And it's always cheap in my apartment.
This is true. We're cheap. So we're headed to
it's inexpensive and it's warm. It's time for cheap heat.
It's time for cheap heat. Cheap heat. This is the segment where we talk about things that are trending with the WWE, AEW, other parts of pro wrestling that are happening. Really have been starting to do this with, I should say, almost a year now, but we've started to kind of talk about topics that are trending so we can make shorter clips on YouTube. If you're watching us on any other platform, check out our YouTube channel, because that's really our home base. We are up to like 539 subscribers, and
Wow.
we're very close to 2,500 total watch hours and 3,000 when we're monetized. So I don't want to bury Cheap Heat, but it's been a good week for us, especially with WrestleMania and some cell phone Cheap Heat videos that I have. But enough about me and
Dude,
enough.
those can be the best kind, right?
Yeah, those
Yeah,
are.
this is I think it was less than a year ago that we did our rebrand. It was a new era here at Don't Bury the Lead, where we decided to formalize our segments and really give Cheap Heat one of those big segments. So here we are.
Mhm.
WrestleMania 40 sets a record on Peacock as the most streamed entertainment event ever. And Cody Rhodes hits incredible numbers for merchandise sales over the WrestleMania weekend. So what WWE seems to be getting bigger and bigger compared to WWE. I know it's a tough era to judge TV shows because there's so many different options out there for people to watch. So like TV ratings now are never what they used to be 30, 40 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. Ratings for SmackDown are nowhere near what they used to be during the Monday Night Wars. But compared to what else is out there, like SmackDown ratings are huge. Raw ratings are probably still huge. The WWE, it's still hot as heck. No pun intended for Cheap Heat here. What say you about these stories here that they're breaking records here? Has it seemed like the product has been getting this good over the last year and a half, basically since we've been doing Don't Bury the Lead, and maybe we should take some credit for it?
Well, there's a lot of different things that have kind of happened all at once here in the last couple years where the TV product was dead as disco. It was just the WWE. Then AEW kind of sparked things up, made it interesting. A lot of old heads in the WWE rolled. Vince and Kevin Dunn, and we have a whole new concept that really probably badly was needed. Was just a new reboot of WWE, and they're kind of rebooting and rethinking it. And I think they've been firing on a lot of cylinders here.
Going into WrestleMania, you and I, me especially, brought it up, but we wondered if Cody Rhodes, if they had waited too long to pull the trigger on Cody Rhodes, and if the fan support was there for him still. With these record-breaking, over $1 million in merchandise sales during WrestleMania weekend at WWE World and WWE Shop, surpassing his previous record set during WrestleMania 39. So it appears as if they did not wait too long, in the sense that Cody Rhodes lost some of his appeal to the fans. It appears as if the fan base still cares a lot about watching Cody Rhodes. So this really came up smelling like roses for WWE here. For sure.
That they waited the extra year, and it seems to have paid off.
It literally paid off over $1 million in merchandise sales just for Cody Rhodes merchandise, and just over this WrestleMania weekend. That's some big business there. Hey, let's talk a little WrestleMania that has some local connections. How about the Monster Factory?
Yeah.
When Bayley came out being carried by 4 people who looked like they were Egyptian deities or something from mythology, she came out at WrestleMania dressed like Isis, Egyptian god of something or other, goddess of whatever. 2 of those people under the mask were apparently David Goldie and Brett Waters of the Monster Factory, who went ahead and after Bayley said, unfortunately, I don't know who the other 3 are, because one of them says they knew one of them. And Bayley said, yeah, I don't know who they are. They apparently were locals. And Monster Factory chimed in there on Twitter, on X platform there, and said, yeah, 2 of them are our guys. That's fantastic. Some good publicity for the local guys. And you remember when Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey were involved in that Rey Mysterio and Andrade versus Santos Escobar and Dominic Mysterio match, weren't you?
Yes.
Apparently, Jason Kelsey worked out at the Monster Factory to prepare for this.
That's awesome.
Great.
As always, the best, just such a great everyman in Jason Kelsey, going out and then actually doing the work and going to like doing the homework to go to the Monster Factory
Yep.
locally. That's not exactly just going to Triple H and asking him. Like he probably did a little research himself to find out locally where he could go. So really cool stuff.
Yeah, and Lane Johnson, apparently he didn't just treat this as a brief thing either. He was saying in the same interview, I think it was on the Pat McAfee show, that he dropped 15 pounds for the WrestleMania appearance because they told him that it would be better if they took off their shirts later. And he's like, oh man, I don't want to look too flabby out there at WrestleMania. So Lane Johnson dropped 15.
And not nasty Nick, he's a little too tall. But
yeah, would throw off the level there. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So I am a little jealous of those guys getting the opportunity to be like, hey, I was in the WrestleMania show and this is what I did. So that's pretty
there
cool.
They are, David Goldie and Brett Waters, if you want to follow them on Twitter as well. By the way, the other two articles about the WrestleMania records came from Deadline and from the Sportster. So great sports business reporting going on there. Thank you for those stories that allow us to talk about them. And thank you for the wrestlers for promoting themselves over on Twitter. And stepping up and not even putting the middleman between us there. Just, touting yourselves there to the David Goldie and Brett_Waters01 on Twitter. I hope maybe you guys get a few extra fans here out of this. That's fantastic stuff. Let's talk about something that happened on Raw that you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
Glitches. Let's boost this up for our viewers at home here. Glitches during a Bronson Reed promo on the telecast of Raw. And, Raw's production, they don't have like equipment failures.
No.
When this stuff happens, it's part of the show. And you sent this to me from SE Scoops. They think maybe this is bringing on Bo Dallas as Uncle Howdy? Possible meaning behind the tease. They've been talking up the Bray Wyatt documentary. And Bo Dallas was rumored to have been the Uncle Howdy character that was going on a little more than a year ago. And then, of course, that got shelved when Bray got ill and was not able to wrestle. Maybe they're quoting Fightful Select here. Maybe Bo Dallas's return includes a version of this Uncle Howdy character, even without Bray Wyatt. And maybe this was some of that. This story stood out to you. Why and what do you think about it?
I was able to kind of take some videos at WrestleMania,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the videos I took was a Bray Wyatt tribute, and that has had a lot of traffic. And I think there's still a lot of people interested in the Bray Wyatt story. Yep. I think there's a certain section of people that had a lot of respect for him, and I could see them, taking that energy that they're getting from the crowd and turning it into a positive, and saying, "Hey, let's bring back Bo Dallas." He probably didn't really get a fair shake in the WWE, to be honest with you.
Okay,
he came in. He had a cool, he had a comedy gimmick where he would tell people to Bo leave. And it was like a motivational speaker that was like a little bit.
I love
annoying.
puns.
Yeah.
I love puns.
So his old gimmick was like Bo Dallas. He's like, I need you to Bo leave. And he'd be like real cheesy. And he was like a motivational speaker, which would be a great thing to kind of make fun of now. I feel like there's a zillion of those out there. But anyways, maybe they bring Uncle Howdy back. And I think people would love some version of Bray Wyatt coming back, and to kind of play off the heat of the still existing heat, I'd say, of Bray Wyatt. It would be, I think it might be something that's going to happen, especially with these glitches that are coming through. There was one tonight as well, and it said something like, "You forgot about me," something like that. There was a glitch. So
Okay.
I
must
think
have missed. I may have looked away when they weren't like doing something. Now I got to pay attention to even like the things that don't look like they're anything on these telecasts, just
I
to see if
didn't
they're
see
trying
it.
to drop subliminal.
I saw it on the internet. Someone pointed it out, so I didn't even
Okay.
see it in the live thing. So
They
I-
did at WrestleMania do a lot of Bray Wyatt tributes, not only the tribute and then the documentary that it aired that debuted right around the same time, but going into the WWE Hall of Fame, Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas's father and uncle, the U.S. Express, Mike Rotunda and Barry Windham. Yeah, of course, Bray Wyatt's given name, Windham Rotunda.
Yeah.
He's named after his uncle, Barry Windham.
Mhm.
So, and when they came out for their introduction for the Hall of Fame on, it was either Saturday or Sunday, not the Hall of Fame itself, they were wearing like a Bray Wyatt t-shirt.
Yeah, I did see that.
So yeah, so there was the timing of everything is, there. I think, and especially maybe this is another indication of this is the Paul Levesque era, that he understands that Windham Rotunda was a great talent, and maybe Vince, got too enamored with one thing that sold a lot of merchandise. He's like, keep doing the Fiend, keep doing the Fiend. We're selling t-shirts.
Yeah. No, I think
when he wanted to do more, Windham Rotunda wanted to do more than just be that one, not so deep character.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, so it will be
We like
interesting.
this. We like this or we don't like it. I like it.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be cool, and I think it'll be another person to add on, and even if he comes back and he comes back just as Bo Dallas, people will freak out because they know he's Bray Wyatt's brother, or they can come back. This seems more like Uncle Howdy though, if he's going to be doing the weird stuff.
Almost, unless he's you forgot about me and he's coming back as the motivational speaker.
You forgot about me. It's me. Believe.
Yes.
If we could do like a high pitched voice too, it was pretty funny.
Well, I haven't seen that one, so maybe I'd really enjoy that character if you brought him back. But this is good stuff. This was a good find by you, and thank you, SE Scoops, for and thank you, of course, Fightful Select, that they were citing way down here in their article. So great stuff from everybody reporting there. Hey, how about some stock talk?
Let's do it.
Vince McMahon again having to sell some more shares. He's sold about 1.5 billion worth of stock so far. They've announced another $311 million in stock that he has to sell this past week. This is him divesting of his. It seems like his stake in TKO Group Holdings was about $2 billion.
Crazy
at a valuation, because he's now sold off about 1.5 billion, and he still has lots of shares. He's got he still has to have some shares because he's pledged 7.17 million of his shares as collateral to secure his obligations under loans. So he has to retain more than it seems like $500 million in stock. And then he's selling, whatever else. I mean, this is a lot of, maybe it hurts his pride, but Vince is making out very well in the finances here with this stock.
Yeah.
And just to pair with it, before we comment on either one of them, The Rock, since he's now on TKO's board and has some vesting interest, he gets $9 million in stock vesting for fulfilling some whatever that he had vested upon completion of certain services. So as Vince McMahon sells shares back to, say that a few times fast, back to the company, they hand over some shares to Dwayne Johnson. What say you about what's happening behind the scenes here with TKO Holdings and the the sale and payment of shares of stock.
Yeah. First of all, I didn't realize The Rock was getting this paid. $9 million payday for his WrestleMania appearance.
Yep.
That's crazy money.
Yep.
And it's crazy money for regular people or even pro wrestlers. That's crazy money.
Yep.
It looks like it was 30 million total, right? That's 9 million. He got 30 million.
He's got a $30 million stock award that will be vested over maybe the course of a year or so. The first one of those were for, it's almost like professional athletes, I guess, who have benchmarks built into their contract, like a pitcher who throws 150 innings gets an extra bonus of whatever. So Dwayne Johnson, for fulfilling certain duties, would get stock payouts. And the first one was almost 100,000 shares. And with the stock price being what it is here, that's almost 10 million. So this is wealth in the company. This is a stake in the company that he's now a board member of.
Yeah.
Which is even better than just getting money cash handed to you, because now he's vested in the company. This is the kind of thing that can grow over time. He might get stock dividends for it.
Mm-hmm.
He might have options to purchase even more shares as part of being an executive. And it's the kind of thing where he doesn't have to take a $30 million tax hit all at once.
Yeah.
Because it's not, it's not salary.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's ownership stake in the company.
Yeah.
So he only takes a hit here, I think, if he sells. I'm not sure of that. I haven't read his contract or anything. So if you know more about it, tell us in the comments, tell us in the live chat. The first one came to us from Variety. And there's that big mug of the non-comic book villain mustachioed Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Looking more like a normal executive guy-ish here. One comes from Fortune by way of Yahoo Finance. So the more of the Variety entertainment and business magazines getting into the pro wrestling coverage here because of so much that's going on with WWE and the parent company. What say you about either of these guys? Surprising to hear these dollar amounts and that are being floated around here?
Yes, with The Rock, because I did not think the pro wrestlers were making that much. And I wonder how this compares to what
board
the
members do.
Right. I wonder how much this and why do they need a board member? Why is he even a board member? What's he do? I was wondering how much does UFC fighters make? Are they looking at this are you kidding me? Because they're in the same company.
I'm wondering if other board members are looking at that and be like, did I get a $30 million stock option when I agreed to do this schlebby job here?
Yeah. So get this. Top fighters on average earn more than $800,000 per fight. So you get 2 fights a year probably in the UFC, and you're a top fighter, you get 1.6 million. Rock shows up, does a couple promos, and he does a tag match, he gets 9 million. You got to be looking at the other. You just got to be looking at the other side here and being, man, I'm in the wrong business.
I got to get me into the C-suite or onto the board.
Yeah. So
I was more surprised by the amount of shares that Vince McMahon still had.
Yeah.
This guy had $2 billion worth of shares. More than $2 billion worth of shares.
Yeah.
And he's being forced to sell them. He's being forced to be, just a billionaire and basically take the tax hit at this point.
Yeah.
That floored me. The Rock as a big time entertainer and a guy who could do a lot of good.
Was Vince forced to sell the stock, or did he want to sell the stock?
This may be like he resigned, he wasn't fired. But we all know that he was kind of fired.
Yeah. So
I wonder if this is part of the agreement they may have reached, that you cannot be so so heavily associated with us anymore.
Right, because he's a big stockholder. He would have power.
Yeah.
He has,
step one was getting him out of the C-suite
yeah,
and out of the boardroom, and step two is drastically reducing his affiliation at all with the publicly traded corporation.
And I saw he has a 12 months no competition clause in his contract. How crazy would that be if he, like, after the 12 months and he's got $2 billion, he says, you know what I might do? Go buy the NWA, you know?
Ha! From Billy Corgan. Oh my goodness. He could say, wouldn't that be something?
Vince McMahon goes and buys the NWA.
Vinnie Mac's father was part of breaking away from the NWA to establish his own promotion.
Yeah.
Then Vince could be, unceremoniously booted from that promotion all these decades later and goes and buys the NWA.
He goes, he buys the NWA, and he books Undertaker and Brock Lesnar and John Cena, because he'll do anything Vince says. All three of those guys, you know, he'll get them. Are you telling me if that happened? What would Cena do? What would Cena do? Who's Mr. WWE, but Vince is at NWA?
Oh, well, it depends on how much Vince would pay him.
I'm sure that would come down to that.
So, yeah, well, we don't know what Vince McMahon's up to, but it is not holding nearly as many shares of stock as TKO as he used to.
Yeah.
So, there we go. Let's see here. Did you see this on AEW?
Unfortunately, yes, I did see this. You can play the video.
Was this a big deal or not?
This was bad.
They showed backstage from All In what happened with CM Punk and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Let's see if we can get this to refresh here. We're not going to play sound. I had trouble finding this even on Twitter, and then we'll get into whether this was a good thing for.
They pressed record and they did it, and they made they're on their way out. Blah 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 blah. Jim Cornette.
Let's talk Mick Foley.
Yeah.
He was supposed to have a final match. He was preparing for a death match for his 60th birthday. Let me bring this up a little for all of our viewers here. This is from his Instagram. And by the way, this comes to us from Wrestle Purists, who are citing a user named Lope LLC over on Twitter. That got a clip of this footage that are on AEW. Mick Foley, we're getting this right from Mick Foley himself on Instagram, the real Mick Foley. He apparently was having symptoms of dizziness and lightheadedness while training, and they say he may have had a concussion. I don't know if it was a latent concussion or if something happened during his training. But he is. I have decided to call off my quest to have a final match on my 60th birthday. Really grateful to all the great stars who expressed great interest in being in that final match, some of the biggest in the business, and to all of you who wished me the best. And then his standard "Have a nice day" there. But I don't know. Were you into Mick Foley and this whole story of him trying to train for a final death match for his 60th birthday? Had you heard about this previously, and were you like behind it, interested?
So I was, and I had a reason, because before he was actually going to be, excuse me, hang on. Before he was, had brought up that he's going to do one last match, I thought, oh no. But then I watched the video and I listened to him talk about it. He has struggled with his weight since he stopped wrestling. Yep. And he has no motivation to lose that weight. So he's at like 385 pounds right now, or 350 pounds. Something, he's at a very high number.
Yes.
And he said, I had no motivation. The only way I think I can do this is if I plan a match way down the road, and that way I'm training, I'm wrestling, I'm moving my body around, I'm starting to eat right, I'm looking forward to the match. That will in itself save my life. And I thought, actually, at his age and being very heavy at his age is asking for it, right? Unfortunately, not to be rude if you are out there and bigger and older, but it's a killer. So I thought,
It scientifically, I mean, medically, it puts extra strain on your heart.
exactly.
It's not like you're less of a dignified person, but it is a medical condition to deal with.
It's a medical condition to deal with, and it's something you need to get solved. And you don't see a lot of guys that size making 90 years old. So ultimately, I thought, good. This is a good reason to get into wrestling. And he said he's just going to do some blood stuff and lay around in the nails. And I'm like, okay, yeah, he could do the Ric Flair thing where he just does it. Like Ric Flair at one point was just doing chops and blade jobs.
Yeah.
Chop, blade job, he could just do that stuff,
Well, I hope that he finds the motivation to watch his health, and I hope he doesn't have to get back in the ring and do a death match.
Right. He talked me into it. Now maybe I was just gotten excited. I was like, yeah, that's a good reason.
Would you have envisioned something sort of like what happened to Sting, but with like more extreme, like Sting towards the end there, it was it's blue collar Sting dressing like he's going to the construction site, and
Right.
he's going through tables. He goes through a pane of glass at the last one. It is almost a shame that a lot of these older wrestlers, they hang on, and that's almost all they can do, right?
It's funny. It's all they can do, and it just shows you how easy it is because they're so old and they have to do that. There's people that choose to do that, and then for the old people, it's like, nah, yeah, you just do the hardcore stuff. It's easy. Any idiot can do that.
Yeah, like the table breaking will actually break my fall a little bit.
But
please put me through a table rather than putting me all the way down to the concrete floor.
Yeah, or even onto the mat.
Even on the table is much lower. Yes.
So we yeah, I would be interested to see where he would have done it. Is it
and again too, he talked about there other wrestlers were interested in being a part of this. I wonder who would have been involved. I heard rumors that Matt Cardona, who he was the former in WWE Zack Ryder, real life married to Chelsea Green, and he apparently he's making a lot of money and having a great time on the indie circuit.
Yeah,
and he was apparently doing death matches, and there was a rumor that he might be involved in this and that he would come back and do a death match again if it was somehow involved with Mick Foley in this final match. So there were some names thrown around there of current wrestlers or maybe even former wrestlers who were going to get back into it. Had you heard any of the names that Mick Foley is hinting at here?
Matt Cardona for sure.
Okay.
But I didn't know anybody else really. To be honest with you, this, I don't know if it feels like too low to be an indie show. Like his last match should probably be, he should sell some tickets, right? He shouldn't be just doing GCW.
It should at least be like an indie show that's promoted on one of the streaming services. Like
Yeah.
even if it's the way Ric Flair's final match was, something along the lines of that.
Or
where you find a streaming carrier, you sell tickets in the arena, maybe you get a couple of thousand there in a smaller theater type setting, and then you sell on some sort of streaming carrier, you sell pay-per-views. It's basically what the NWA does for all of their pay-per-views. They're in a theater type thing that holds a couple of thousand, a few thousand, and then it's one of the modern streaming carriers who allows people not there to pay a few bucks and watch it.
You could do that, and any of the wrestlers that love him and they're heroes with him or whatever. I'm sure Adam Copeland, I know is respects Mick a lot. AEW would let him go to that event, right, and wrestle a match beforehand.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. So you'd have Adam Copeland there, aka Edge. I'm sure the Undertaker would be there because just like Undertaker was at Ric Flair. He's at Ric Flair's last match, and I feel like
he's got a bigger history with Mick Foley.
Yeah, for sure. Or maybe he could be in Mick's last match and beat the hell out of him, right? No.
Just choke slam him through stuff, since the Undertaker really isn't bumping at this age either.
Right.
All right, hey, that's what I got for you. Tell us in the comments, tell us in the chat, what do you think of any of these stories we covered on Cheap Heat? Is there anything from this past week that you think we missed and should have talked about? For now, until next time, John, it's cheap, it's heat, it's cheap heat.
It's cheap heat.
Oh, that extra microphone there is really picking up the resonance of when you say cheap heat. And
Yeah. So, Dom, I'll be honest with you. Chat's been a little quiet tonight, guys. If you have anything you want to say, let us know. Let us know what you think. Glad that you were able to join on here, and I'm gonna be honest with you again here and just say, our restream is glitching, so I have no idea how many people are on or off the whole night.
it's Uncle Howdy, it's Bo Dallas.
It's Bo Dallas, right? So I have not seen who's. Sometimes I can see like when it's up to 4, 5, 6, and you ask, "Oh, what do you guys think?" And like that's usually a good time, but I don't see even who's on there. So it could be 0 this whole time. I don't know. We don't even let me know that you're out there and just write a little comment. If you're watching on Twitch, you're watching on Tinder, just write a comment because I just don't know who's watching.
Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and of course the home base at YouTube.
The home
Wherever
base.
you're finding us on the live stream, thank you very much. We try to stream on several live platforms because we know there's people who have their preferences and like them each for their live streaming capabilities. But if you'd like to see more from Don't Bury the Lead, our archive is at YouTube. Don't Bury the Lead, a wrestling channel, I believe it is. Don't Bury the Lead wrestling channel. Just look for Don't Bury the Lead.
Mm-hmm.
We should be one of the top search results there if you just type that phrase in there. And that's where not only our live streams are archived for you to watch on recording, but also the shorts, the 60-second and under videos that John makes. And also, John, you make these wonderful edited clips. And hey, every now and then, like when you were live at night 1 of WrestleMania, some first-person news reporting footage from the stadium there. So we got great entrance footage and, of course, that Bray Wyatt tribute up there at the YouTube channel. Go check out those, the Bray Wyatt one especially. Several thousand viewers on that one alone.
Yeah.
Check us out wherever you like us. If you want more, find us on the YouTube channel. It's been a pleasure as always. And remember, don't bury the lead.
I love it, Dom. I love it. Yes, it's been a pleasure. And yeah, it's been exciting. It's been a very exciting week for Don't Bury the Lead. I kind of alluded to it before, but I'm going to keep talking about it. We got a lot of views from the videos. I went to WrestleMania and we got a lot of the views from the videos. But I even say going into this year, we have done pretty well as far as our over 1,000 viewed videos when we make these short clips. I find that to be very encouraging, quite frankly, that we're able to get through. And, you know, I don't know what the count is total, but we were.
Yeah, lots of videos that hit what I call in the figure 4, when they hit 4 digits, at least 1,000. We've had quite a few figure 4 videos. Had some videos that there were lots of comments on. We enjoy hearing from you guys. You know, John and I like to talk. You can tell that by watching the full shows here. We like talking about pro wrestling, but we also like hearing what you have to say about pro wrestling. And, you know, keep it so that it doesn't get us, you know, a strike or flagged on YouTube or whatever. So, you know, keep it acceptable to YouTube's parameters there. It's pro wrestling. We're just having some fun. But yes, tell us what you think. Tell us your thoughts. There have been quite a few videos where we've seen kind of a community develop there where commenters are replying to each other and scaffolding on each other's comments and really taking it places. That's neat to see.
Yeah, no, that's a ton of fun.
I like watching and talking about it. I also like, you know, hearing from other people who are watching and have something to say.
No, we love when we get a good chat going, and I think we had an awesome one when we did the WrestleMania show. That one comes to mind that was recent. We had some really good chatters there.
All right.
So, you know, whenever you have like 1 or 2 people just saying some stuff, they pop in. It's great. But hey, listen, I think tonight's a little different because people are probably a little whooped from watch a lot of pro wrestling, get WrestleMania weekend. That's when you said, "Did you watch AEW?" I was like, "Kind of, just for this one thing." And I was Dom. I was so disappointed.
But it worked. It was a week flooded with WWE and WrestleMania and saturation, and this little gimmick they did got you to tune into AEW.
I was disappointed. I would have watched it anyway because Dustin Rhodes wrestled Samoa Joe. So they did. So they were doing Dustin Rhodes versus Samoa Joe in the main event. So I'm like, yeah, of course I'll watch that. And it was all ruined by this stupid thing that the Young Bucks did. I'm so pissed off at them.
Well, maybe there will be some backlash that we will talk about for Cheap Heat next Friday when we do this all again after SmackDown.
Yeah, because does the draft start next week?
2 weeks from April 12th. So we'll get more interesting stuff next week. And then the draft, I think they announced for April 26th on SmackDown, April 29th on Raw. So a couple of weeks worth of drafting. That takes us into Backlash probably in early May. That's supposed to be over in France, I believe they said. Somewhere over in Europe. And then we should see roster changes sometime in May.
Let me see that. Let me just check this out. Give me 1 sec. It's called Backlash WWE. Saturday, May 4th, 12:30 p.m.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep, it's over in France.
And
that starts quite a few European dates that they have because they're doing eventually Bash in Berlin later in the summer. Which I still say they missed a huge opportunity to call it the Berlin Brawl. Right. Tear down this brawl.
Okay.
See, that would really be a new era.
Tear down this brawl.
The Berlin Brawl.
Yeah, man. Maybe we could do another get together. If it's Saturday at 12:30 p.m., or do you have other things you do on Saturday?
I don't think I would have to do much on that. So yeah, maybe we will do another in-person Don't Bury the Lead. We've got 2 Fridays of SmackDowns, and then it's basically 3 weeks away from tonight is going to be Backlash.
Yeah, the other one was
it's only 4 weeks from WrestleMania.
The other one was easy peasy to set up. I think it was just like it wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
and I'll have to search. I have a mic in my house that my wife uses for her calls. It's like, I got to get it. It's like a big speaker. So I want to hear how it sounds. So we could just use that instead.
2 of us can use the same mic or whatever. There we go. Yeah. Maybe we'll see how that happens again. Oh. Yeah. So, something to keep in mind. It's only a few weeks away, but before that happens, we've got 2 SmackDowns, including the beginning of a draft. Mm-hmm. And we've got AJ Styles versus LA Knight, the rematch of their excellent WrestleMania 40 match to determine the number 1 contender to Cody Rhodes' Universal WWE Championship that will be defended apparently at Backlash.
So I checked manually. I see we got 2 people on YouTube. What do you guys think of the show tonight? Let us know.
We're in the Italian goodbye here where it just takes us forever to hit the exit button.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I heard a little something. Are we getting voicemails? What are we getting there?
I have to check on this manually right now. So, yeah, let us know as we're going through right now. Anybody that's on the YouTube, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Feel free to chat us. And hey, why not throw us a like? That's free. Or subscribe. That would be amazing. Either of those 2. If you like listening to us yammer on. A like, though, would be, we'll take that. Likes
on the videos are often awesome. Comments over there on YouTube in the archive. Hey, go through our archive of other videos and see what you like there. See what we have to offer there. A lot of great stuff, well edited, well put together.
We got a question, Dom.
We do. Did Solo kick Jimmy out? It kind of looks like that, doesn't it?
Yep.
It looks
Andrea,
like
that's what
Jimmy is
happened.
out and replaced by Toma Tonga.
Yeah. Jimmy took a beat down tonight.
Yes.
By the hands of Solo Sikoa and this guy from New Japan, Toma Tonga. I have to keep looking down because he's new, so I don't really know who he is. But thank you so much for Andrea.
Alliteration, Toma Tonga, TT. So I'm doing pretty well with it.
Yeah, it kind of slips me up a little bit. It's like I don't know, it throws me off a little bit. But Andrea, thank you so much for the comment. We really appreciate it.
We think so, but we're going to have to find out in future WrestleManias because it just looks like Jimmy got a beat down.
Yeah.
We'll see future SmackDowns, future Raws. We'll have to keep watching, and that's part of the fun, right? You know, we got to know. What do you think, Andrea? What did it look like tonight to you? Did it look like that Jimmy is gone, or did he just get some sort of punishment and he's going to like Stockholm syndrome and snake his way back and apologize? Yes, my tribal chief. Yes, my tribal chief. I deserved it for letting you down, my tribal chief. Because we could see, Jimmy went slinking back once.
Right.
Maybe he goes slinking back again.
I don't know. Well, if you're out there and you're watching on YouTube, thanks so much. What do you think, Dom? We're getting a little late here.
Is it about time to put a bow on this one?
I think it's about time to put a bow on it.
It's been a lot of fun. We don't bury the lead, and then we keep moseying on down.
This is the Italian goodbye, Andrea. You're new to the show, so basically the Italian goodbye is when we start to say goodbye, and then we're all kind of meandering around the door, and we're talking, and then we just start conversations back up as we're saying goodbye. So when we hit the Italian goodbye, we're not Irish goodbye. We're Italian goodbye. We're just chatting as we get to the end here. So thanks for hanging in the end, and really appreciate your comment. I think it's a really good one. Asking if did Solo kick Jimmy out? Yes, he did, and it was wild. So thanks so much for joining all that did. And thanks for the comments. I saw a couple likes. And my name's John Zadell. This is Dom Scarcella over here. And like our stuff on YouTube. Subscribe to us. Or don't. And then Andrea, another comment. Oh, okay, no problem.
Thank you for the support. Love it.
All right. Yeah, Andrea, hit the subscribe button. Come on. We've had a great time together. We could do this every Friday night.
Thank you much. We appreciate everybody who finds us and appreciates what we do enough to hit those buttons.
Yep. So thank you so much, and have a great rest of your evening.